It's a hell of a pinpoint operation.
Right. It's escalating really significantly, and it just underscores the need for ceasefire.
We've got to get over there.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you, John. I think, John, we ought to go tonight. I think it's crazy to be sitting around.
All right. Then he was asked about those comments, and he just basically blasted Hamas. But that was John Kerry when he didn't know the camera was on, mocking Israel's pinpoint operation.
Yeah, that I think shows the true feelings of too many people in this administration.
All right, folks, welcome to Gimme 5. You're all familiar with that. The current Secretary of State, when he didn't know his mic was on. Well, we could bring you a former Secretary of State, one Madeleine Albright, who knew full well her mic was on when she was interviewed, and her true feelings on Israel kind of matched John Kerry's true feelings on Israel. Watch.
I think that Secretary Kerry is doing everything that he can. He's in Cairo. The point here is there has to be some kind of a ceasefire that Hamas has to accept, because in the past, Prime Minister Netanyahu has accepted times of ceasefire, and it's Hamas that has not accepted it. I do think that the point has to be made, if rockets are being shot at Israel, that Israel does have a right to defend itself. But the bottom line is a question of proportionality.
Proportionality. Proportionality. Gee, I forgot how effective and wonderful the Secretary of State Madeleine Albright was. Remember when she toasted the butchers of Beijing in China? What is proportionality, Madam Secretary? What on earth is proportionality? If you're superior militarily, you don't use all your weapons because the enemy doesn't have the same weapons? Maybe Israel should use a slingshot. Would you like that? More.
There has to be a way that Palestine is recognized, that there's a two-state solution, that the various points that have been put on the table over the year are met. We do care, most of us, about the security of Israel, but it cannot have that security if there is not a two-state solution. And I think Secretary Kerry has done an amazing job in pushing, but ultimately it has to be the political will of the parties to bring this to the table. But now there has to be a ceasefire.
Oh, there has to be a ceasefire. Israel must stop annihilating the tunnels from which these terrorists come into their own country and would invade and blow up kindergartens. Madeleine Albright says there must be a ceasefire. Stop Israel. Let Hamas alone now. You've done enough. Be proportionate. It really is sickening. And there must be a two-state solution? Okay, which two states? The one that the Palestinians won't recognize as a Jewish state? Israel, does that still exist in your little world? Madam Secretary, next.
Are you suggesting, Madam Secretary, that the Israelis are overreacting to the provocations, the missiles and rockets coming in? Are they going too far when you use the word proportionality?
Well, I do think that it is very hard to watch the number of Palestinians that are being killed, innocents. It is hard to dispute the fact that, as Prime Minister Netanyahu has said, that in fact there are innocents being put in the way in order to act as shields.
Okay, but that doesn't deter her from saying Israel is overreacting and they have to stop. So thank you for granting a victory to Hamas, Madam Secretary, because that's what you're doing. And you're setting it up for every other terrorist group in the world to fight like that and to win, because we can't bomb them if they're using human shields, or not too much now, more.
But the bottom line is, I think that this is hurting Israel's moral authority. I do think that it looks as though they are overdoing, which is why I think there has to be more emphasis on the fact that they have accepted the ceasefire, and then try to figure out who has any influence over Hamas in order to get them to accept a ceasefire. They say they will not accept until the rockets stop, and the bottom line is they have to, that's the only way to stop everything, is to have a ceasefire.
Oh, Israel's losing its moral authority to a terrorist group that uses children and hospitals and their patients and mosques and their worshipers and schools and their students to fire from and to hide rockets with. Israel's losing the moral authority. Only in the world of the U.S. State Department, past and present. Stay tuned now for your Newsmax Now update coming up.